YouTube, Awesome Writer here. Today I have a little bit of Power Rangers reboot news. Now that we have finished Cosmic Fury, there's been a lot of concern about the future of the series. Of course, there has been in general, but now that we're past like the final season right now of the current iteration, and the reboot being up in the air, people are wondering what's going to happen next. So, Curtosy of Jinsaku, we have some more, at the moment, are technically rumors. He says he has confirmation from a Hasbro representative, but none of this has been confirmed by Hasbro. But just remember, as of this moment, technically speaking, they have announced the Netflix reboot that's supposed to be in production, but this is supposedly the latest status update on it. So, Hasbro and Netflix are going to try to prioritize Entwistle's work on the script now that the strike is over with, because as of this recording, the writer strike is done. I believe the actor strike is still happening, but the writer strike is done, so they're working to prioritize it as soon as possible and getting that done. And I guess that they're going to be repurposing the script from Edward Hill, who wrote the movie treatment for the first couple episodes, and then reworking the third act for the rest of the series, basically turning the movie into a series, which we already knew from before. I think at one point they were gonna launch it with a movie and then turn it into a series, but it looks like now it's just gonna be a series, which I think is cleaner. It would have been cool to get a TV movie and then launch it into a series, but I think just for sake of lack of confusion, it makes it easier to streamline the whole thing. We do have some interesting updates on the roster. We still don't know a lot about the theme. At one point there was a theme of Chinese creatures, I think, Chinese mythology creatures, or something like that. There was going to be something about it was going to be a reference to Sentai. They said it was supposed to be original and not like mmpr, but it's going to use the mmpr color scheme. But the latest update on the color scheme lineup and all that is female red, which we've known for a while, male green, yellow male, pink female, and blue male as well. But the interesting thing about that, other than female red, is we have green is supposedly supposed to be the focus and the main character and the leader, I guess, which is interesting because I think that they partially made Amelia red as a test run to see how people responded to it, and it felt like they were going to go for a female red, but it looks like they're going for male green leader, and there's been rumors, which I'll talk about in a minute, that it's going to be named Tommy, and there's going to be a lot of focus on that. And then lastly, just next year is supposed to still be a hiatus, but then they're going to start working on it as soon as possible. E1 may still be involved because of contractual obligations of whatever. I don't really care about that. It's just names on the piece of paper. And then also he just adds that in private conversations, Entwistle showed interest in wanting the suits to look similar to the 1995 movie suits or King Oger. Now, I think he's using that as an example as practical suits that have an armored look. I don't want to hear that. Then they should use King Oger suits look. I don't think they would go for that, but I think that's the idea, which is kind of what I would want, or I think is probably the best approach, is something like the 1995 movie suits, which I think do hold up, honestly, for the most part, at least conceptually. That idea, modernized a little bit. Something sort of similar to the way the physical suits looked for the 2017 movie as well. Now, I'm not talking about the designs. I know the designs were controversial, but that they did make practical suits for those, and you can see some set photos, and just kind of that maybe slightly more armored look. King Oger, just as an example, again, this doesn't mean use the King Oger suits, but the idea of something a little bit more armored, maybe mixed with the spandex or the sort of spandex, so I could see that, and I think that's a good idea. To be honest, a lot of this just sounds like the normal update and rumor we always get. It just feels like the latest iteration of that, of we promise it's coming, here's the latest iteration. I think that as we've been getting these at each point in time, it's been true, yes, this is what's happening now. I think the most interesting takeaway is that they're wanting to try to fast track this, possibly. Not fast track it, but finally get it going after the writer's strike, and of course the change in the lineup and the color lineup. I forgot to mention too, I think one of the Rangers, I'm looking it up, I don't remember which one, it's going to be yellow or blue also is going to be, which, oh, this is going to make the comments fun, it's going to be an LGBTQ Ranger as well. So I almost forgot to bring that up, and I can't wait for, the comments are just going to be, Hasbro's woke, Sentai forever! Oh, it's going to be fun. It's alright, I have more scotch. Anyway, so the thing I find interesting is, again, this just does feel, and I'm sure people feel similar, just the same old update. But I am curious about how this is going to happen, just because, it has been really touch and go. As I've acknowledged in previous videos, I think people don't give enough credit to how much, delays and circumstances they've had that have legitimately caused it to be kind of a production, behind-the-scenes nightmare between change in leaderships and the virus and then writer strike and all that. So I think that there's been more factors than people just like to paint it as some sort of Hasbro villain streak. But the amount of time it's taken and frustrations, it does lead you to lose faith that it'll come out. I'm even, leaving the door open for this to be shelved, But I have gone back and forth about this idea of like, okay, it's entirely possible because Hasbro's been winding down, that attitude they've had of like, let's get this out of the way, make room for Star Wars, that, it feels weird, and it feels like they could have that attitude to just shelve it. But I was thinking like, okay, so they did make the deal with Netflix. And Netflix, so far, they've only, produced basically Cosmic Fury and Once and Always with them. And then, of course, airing Dino Fury Season 2, which I think was also Netflix original, I think. Yeah, because I don't think that was ever intended to air on Nick. Anyway, regardless, you know what I mean, is they haven't really gotten to get like what they really wanted, which was this reboot attempt. And I was thinking, well, they're probably going to at least try to make that happen before it gets canceled. However, it is worth noting that I have heard of projects before that Netflix has greenlit or partnered with and then never saw the light of day, and they basically canceled it before it even came out. So that's not impossible that at some point everyone could just say, like, this is just too much. Like, who cares? Let's just cancel the whole thing. So that's not impossible. As I've said in past videos, I'm like 90% sure we'll see a reboot, whether it's this one or another one in the future. I'm sure we'll see it picked up again, but I think it's interesting to note that at least they're wanting to give this a try, and I do hope that even if it takes longer, the one they've been working on does see the light of day. Whether that could be successful is just a matter of so many different factors, to be honest, but I'm looking forward to see what they come up with, whether it's this one or the next one. But it's interesting to see that supposedly it's still on their mind as trying to make it happen and not cancel it before it even happens. In regards to like the color lineup and the leader lineup and stuff like that, I remember hearing rumors a little while back that it was going to be based on Tommy. Like Tommy was going to be the main character, or they're going to name one of the characters after him. I even remember seeing, I think it was on JDF's birthday, I want to say, that Entwistle said like he was an important ranger to the past and the franchise's future, which made a lot of people think that. I wanted to make a video on it, but I was kind of waiting for something just more concrete than that speculation. I have mixed feelings on it just because I think it brings up a lot of different things. Like, I really don't have a problem with them naming one of the characters Tommy, just in tribute of JDF. Obviously just any Ranger names are just names in the world. So if they name a character Jason or Joel or, all that, it's not necessarily always going to be a reference. But I don't have a problem with that. Specifically naming the Green Ranger Tommy as a tribute is a nice little thing. But it does bring up some interesting conversations just because, like, setting aside his passing and also setting aside like the rumors that he wanted to be more involved with the franchise but Hasbro didn't want it, I don't mind that idea. I think that it's definitely gonna set some fans to be upset because there's always been Tommy focus and people complain about Tommy focus. It just depends on what kind. Like if they were to do like effectively a reboot rehash of Tommy's story from the main series, like you can tell it's an adaptation of what Tommy went through from like green to white. You know what I mean? Like if it's like not beat for beat, but you can tell it's meant to be that same story, I could see like, okay, why do this? But if it's just a new character named Tommy that maybe has some slight similarities but is an entirely new story, I'm okay with that. Or maybe something where it takes small little elements it is inspired by, but twists it in a new way. Like I actually think that could be kind of interesting and make sense. And again, in light of JDF's passing, it could, if you take away some other factors I'm about to mention, it could be kind of a nice tribute. And on a superficial level, I don't know. I think it's kind of cool, the idea of a Green Ranger leader and changing that status quo of, it's always Red Ranger leader, which we've been used to. Whether that would be, if this is successful, forever, or they would do a different colored leader each time. I kind of like that idea on a superficial level just when I'm thinking about Sentai PR color lineups. However, the reason it's mixed again is like I just don't see the point in doing again, this is all speculation. We don't know anything. I already see people saying this is going to be terrible. I'm like, dude, we don't even have a plot synopsis. But just thinking about it, the only mixed feelings I really have, to be honest, because I don't have a problem with them naming the character or having a character inspired by him. I don't have a problem with that. The only mixed feelings it brings about is really about, again, there was rumors that JDF wanted to be, I mean, we saw with the Saban era that he was always pushing like a Green Ranger movie and he was like super involved and wanting to be involved in, like, I guess the rumor was that he wanted to be more involved with the Hasbro stuff and he wanted to do the Green Ranger movie and they just didn't want to have anything to do with it and they wanted to do their own thing. Obviously worked with the Master Morpher, like the deal fell through for him to be in Once and Always, but it just seemed like he wanted to be like, yeah, let's do this Green Ranger movie. I want to be really involved. And they were kind of like, we're kind of moving forward. That's what I heard a couple times. So, like, it just seems retroactively crazy that then they would be focusing on Tommy after JDF's passing in a different way, if that makes any sense. That's what I have mixed feelings about. And also, like, on one hand, it's like a nice way of paying tribute to him to make the main character the focus, and like, because it kind of always was in a way. Again, it'll be different. It's possible to be different. It's not like we're going to be getting the current Tommy stories again. But in one way, that's kind of nice, but also there's a little bit of an ick factor of me thinking they might be taking advantage of, like, to get publicity of like, oh, we're doing this series in tribute to him. You know what I mean? Like, they're going to use his passing to gain publicity and, like, to get eyeballs on it. Like, oh, we're paying tribute to Tommy and JDF by making the new Tommy, you know? I guess it also depend on maybe if they bring in his daughter and, like, get permission. I don't know. It's all kind of sketchy. I have very mixed feelings on that, depending. I'm usually not too... I really don't care about stuff like that, like in terms of like the politics and all that, but it just does give me a little bit of that factor of like they're going to kind of use that for kind of like, you know, with the way Tommy merchandise is being scalped and stuff. It just, I don't know. That's mixed. But we'll have to see. You know, if this is all true, then we should have, at least during the gap year, some casting news and some production news and stuff like that, and I'm excited by the potential of covering it. I still am excited for the potential of it, but I'm just remaining kind of cautiously optimistic. I think this is definitely some interesting things to think about. I'm very afraid of the comment section. I might stay away from it for a while, but let me know what you guys think. Until next time, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and climb the steps and ring that bell so you get notifications for my videos. The Awesome Writer, signing out.